Test 1, 2. Good evening, everybody. How are you guys? Wow, this is a nice crowd tonight. Thank you so much for coming out. I know you're excited. I'm excited. I missed his first performance, so I'm so glad I'm here tonight. We have Cooley, classical pianist. He's got a doctorate from the Manhattan School of Music. He's performed with famous opera singers, and he's performed in Europe. And of course, Moravian Hall Square, right? So you know what they say, if you can make it in Moravian Hall Square, you can make it anywhere. So, and we're all very excited. This is the second time here. He's actually going to be here again in November for a holiday show. So please join me giving Mr. Chris Cooley a warm welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. It's great to be back. The whole room is like in a different orientation from last time I was over there, wasn't I? Yeah, and everyone was kind of in one body. Now I'm going to have to kind of talk like this, but I'll do it. I'd like to start with a waltz by one of my favorite composers, Chopin. I think I started with a Chopin waltz last time, but it's a different one, I promise. This is the famous Minute Waltz. So it's going to be so quick that I'm probably going to go right into another waltz, which is his C-sharp minor waltz. I grew up listening to the Arthur Rubinstein recordings of the waltzes, and they really inspired me to want to be a pianist. So here I am still playing them. And now C-sharp minor. Still a waltz, still Chopin. Thank you. I like to reminisce of it. I was just telling Lisa, one of the main things I do now is I play for singers, mostly opera singers. I'm going to talk in this show a lot about sort of my journey with that and how that took me to Italy to play for programs, and I'm going to play some Italian music and other European countries. But first, I think it's fun to go back and kind of relive my days of when I was a teenager and into first few years of my college. My dream was really to be a solo pianist, so that's when I learned all this Chopin and Rachmaninoff and all this big repertoire. So I'd like to share just a little snippet of the concerto that I played in competitions when I was like 16. It's the Grieg Piano Concerto, which, even if you're not familiar with the Norwegian composer Edvard Grieg, I'm sure you've heard of this. I'm just going to kind of play the dramatic intro and then the end of the first movement, which is the famous part. So of course that's for piano and orchestra, so I was kind of trying to squeeze some of the orchestra part in there too. And of course the first movement alone is like at least 10 or 12 minutes, so that was just kind of the famous part. My all-time favorite composer is Rachmaninoff. Something about the richness of his sound, the concertos, the orchestration, the virtuosity of the piano part, and also the fact that I showed at a pretty early age I had pretty big hands. I was always, tall pretty early, and Rachmaninoff was, I believe he was 6'5", and so his music kind of suits my hands, and you need big hands to play his big chords. But he wrote a lot of really beautiful songs and lyrical, beautiful melodies. And the short piece that I'd like to share now is called Lilacs. It's actually a transcription of a song that he wrote about lilacs. It's kind of one of the few songs he wrote in a major key that's kind of basically sweet and beautiful. So Lilacs by Rachmaninoff, short and sweet. Sometimes I use this as an encore, like in a classical program. So, so I got my undergrad in solo piano at Florida State University. Then I decided I would get, I was already playing for singers quite a bit, kind of as a side hustle. But I decided to get my master's in solo piano too, so I went off to the University of Texas at Austin. And there I started playing in vocal studios more and more, learning more opera music, more art songs, et cetera, more about singing, more about languages. And in 1996, I got invited to a summer program in Austria. And I got super excited, started learning German, started learning the diction so I could help the singers sing in German. And that became kind of later part of my career, and part of the whole world of classical vocal coaching is all about languages. But fell in love with Europe, really fell in love with Austria first. I hadn't been to Italy yet. That's later. But I thought I would kind of sort of celebrate that year and that experience with a couple of Viennese pieces that are pretty famous. The first one is, the title is Wien, du Stadt meiner Träume, which means Vienna, city of my dreams. It's a very well-known song in Austria. And then the second one, I think I'll wait and see if you already know it. It's from an operetta. That's all I'm telling you, because Vienna is like, that's where operetta was basically born. You'll know it. So y'all have heard that before, right? From the most famous operetta, Die Fledermaus by Johann Strauss. That's why it's got a great waltzing, lilting Viennese feel to it. I play that all the time for sopranos all over the city. It's like one of the really standard audition pieces. So, the next country that I really fell in love with even more was Italy. I got invited, so I moved to New York in '98, and then in 2000 I got invited to my first vocal program in Italy that's for American singers, but it's an immersion program so that singers studying in the States who want to have opera careers and get their Italian pronunciation better and Italian language better and all that can go and learn the language, study with a great voice teacher, and start actually speaking the language. So I was like in the front seat of every Italian class. So I really took advantage of that, and decades later I'm still going back, and I speak Italian now, and it's just, I go back as often as I can. These two songs, it sort of became a theme of putting this show together, as I kind of, I don't know, I like putting two related songs together and flowing them one into the other. The first one is Non ti scordar di me, which is a famous, Pavarotti sang this a lot, and people all over Italy know it. If you just start singing it, everybody joins in. It's like that kind of song. And the second one, once again, I think I'll surprise you. It won't be that surprising, but you'll know what it is. No, they didn't steal it from Elvis. It was the other way around. Yeah, it was an Italian folk song first. I also love spending time in Paris, of course. I love France. I have friends living there now. I visit them as often as possible. And I thought a great way to talk about France and to celebrate France would be to do a couple of songs by the wonderfully famous Edith Piaf. I chose, of course, the most famous La Vie en Rose. I love that song. And also this song that's perhaps maybe her second or maybe third most famous song, Hymne à l'amour, Hymn to Love, has now having sort of a resurgence in popularity thanks to Celine Dion's wonderful performance at the Olympics that really thrilled people all over the world. So this is La Vie en Rose and Hymne à l'amour by Edith Piaf. She wrote the lyrics. I believe other people wrote the music, but she wrote her own lyrics. Thank you. I love that song, and I forgot to put my cheat sheet in front of me for that. I tell you, I'm not a big high tech person, but that iPad has kind of changed the way I'm able to do my business. And yeah, it's great for music because I used to, when I was working at Brooklyn College and playing for about 50 different singers, I had to carry around binders with all their music in it and like an opera score for the opera and blah, blah, blah. Now it's just all on one magical rectangle that I just take everywhere. Yeah, it's great. I'd like to, let's see. Next, I think I'd like to talk about Rosemary Clooney just briefly because I just love her voice, her music, her life was so, her career was long and interesting. And a friend of mine and I did, a singer friend, decided we wanted to put a show together of her stuff years ago, and we talked about her life and we related songs she sang to the different chapters in her life. But I thought I wanted to feature a song she kind of made famous in her own right, although it was originally from the musical The Pajama Game. She sang this beautiful song called Hey There. So this is more or less her version. I love these old songs from what we call the golden age of American musical theater. I just taught a whole class at Brooklyn College about this, and it was so fun. It's music that the great pop singers, you know, Sinatra sang those songs, but opera singers can sing those songs, and because like sopranos can sing them, they don't have to be belted, and so it's like a whole universal repertoire of like I think some of the greatest music written in this country. And this one is actually not from a show. I just had this feeling I wanted to play this song today. It's just from the quintessential movie Breakfast at Tiffany's. You already know what the song is, right? By Henry Mancini, called Moon River. there's something just magical about this period, kind of right in the middle of the 20th century in this country, that just produced all this great music that is not only like our heritage within our country, but as someone who's spent a lot of time in Europe, and I actually lived in the country of Lithuania for a year, believe it or not. That's like a whole sidebar, but in Eastern Europe. But whenever I'm in Europe, I notice that people just love this American music, this old American music. And I actually played in a group that specialized in retro American music and swing stuff, and they sang it all in English. The continent of Europe has this big song contest called Eurovision, and the countries compete with each other, and guess what language all the songs are in? English. Even though like the only country over there that speaks English is England or the UK. But yeah, I think it's largely because of our music, our pop music, that English has kind of become the international language of this music, these songs. I'm going to play a song from Jobim, a bossa nova that's kind of famous in its own right, called Girl from Ipanema. Of course, you know that one. Then I'm going to kind of filter into another song that I know you've heard, but you've probably never heard it done as a bossa, and I just want to kind of surprise you and let you listen carefully for it and be like, oh, what song is that? And I'll tell you afterwards. It gave me the idea because of the group that I played it, that we sang it with in Lithuania, did it as a bossa, and it was super cool. I was really skeptical when my group wanted to do that song as a bossa. I was like, no, it's such a tender, beautiful ballad. It has to be like that. Well, no. These songs are so flexible, they can be arranged in like a million different ways and they still sound great. I thought there's a piece of music that came out in the 70s and I'm barely old enough to remember it, but I do remember it vividly, like really being captivated by this piece. And well, I think I'll play it first and then talk a little bit about it, because it has several different cultural significances. There's just something magical about that piece, which was called, I believe it was called Bottom's Dream. It was originally written for like a movie in the early 70s that I don't think people really remember, but then it caught on in two famous ways, as you probably know. It became the theme of The Young and the Restless. Of course, even I remember that. And Nadia's theme, because one of the radio programs started playing it for whatever reason. Someone had the idea to play that music while they're showing footage from Nadia Comaneci's gymnastic routines from the 1976 Olympics. And so it became sort of, remembered, and it came to symbolize Nadia, so Nadia's theme. I don't know, there's something, people who really know that piece, there's something magical about it. I thought one thing that would be really nice to do, we just lost one of the great American actors recently, Robert Redford, and a couple of has so many great iconic movies, but two of his iconic movies have great, particularly great music in them. And I thought it would be nice to remember that with the theme song from Out of Africa. I don't know if you remember, Out of Africa from 1985. I remember I was obsessed, like in my teens, I was getting into movie music, and I was obsessed with the film scores of John Barry, of which, that's one. He wrote the sweeping orchestral score from that epic movie. He wrote Somewhere in Time, which I'm also obsessed with. But I'm going to play the main theme from Out of Africa, and then the one that you would expect me to play from, like, his super famous movie with you know who, Barbara Streisand. You know what that is. Well, I think I'd like to bring it back to my city, well, my current city, New York. I'm actually from Florida, I think Lisa might have mentioned, but I've lived in New York since 1998, so I think I'm a New Yorker by now. This is actually, I think I'd like to pay tribute to the musical that just closed about a week ago, because it was a big, important one, Cabaret. I didn't have to go see that Broadway production because I saw it on the West End before it transferred. It was a big success on the West End, so they brought it to Broadway. This is a couple of songs from Cabaret. First, Maybe This Time, and then the title song, Cabaret. And then I'll probably just launch into some kind of finale that you might be able to predict, that generally relates to New York, that a song that people love. So, so be ready for a not so surprising surprise. And I forgot to mention, both, of course, the whole musical of Cabaret and this iconic song are all by Kander and Ebb. So thank you for being a great audience, and this is your predictable finale. Sing along. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray and step around. Around the heart of it. I wanna wake up in a city that doesn't sleep. These little town blues are melting away. I wanna be a part of it.
Oh my God, wasn't that fabulous? I don't know about you, but I was in tears back there through some of those songs. The lilac, I mean, it just sounded like there were petals like falling from the sky when he was playing that. That was really amazing. I'm so glad I got a chance to experience it. I hope you guys, I know you guys enjoyed it. And he will be back in November, correct? For a holiday show. So let's thank him again by giving him a wondrous round of applause. Thank you so much. That was incredible. And safe trip back to New York, and we will see you soon. Thank you.